Hello, all. We were talking about the truth. It's a very unique thing because, you can be in the space of talking about the truth, want everybody to understand the truth, want everybody to know the truth. But what ends up happening when you actually state the truth and you're ready to be right there in the truth, somehow thought processes can get changed. It has nothing to do with what the actual truth represents. Here's an example. You know, without a doubt, you are meant to love who you love, be supportive with who you love, be there for who you love. But on the inside, somehow, some way, you end up telling yourself they're not on the same page with you. How do you communicate that truth without conflict? How do you express that kind of information? It's almost like you put under pressure for a truth that you know is in your heart, where you really are, who you really meant to be. But then magically, without question, everything gets doubted.
Doubted how?
Everything gets speculated, everything gets thrown off, everything becomes complete bullshit to the other person, even though the truth has been stated. It's almost like you have to fight your own truth. I mean, I get it. But Jesus Christ, at some point it becomes very restless. It becomes something that it just doesn't make any sense. You know how you feel. You know what you're meant to do. You know why you're here. You know what it is that you feel on the inside. And the other person just doubts it. Guess what? This isn't about them. This is about you being able to stand in your truth and stand next to it and honor that. You can't expect somebody to honor something that you honor. Just give up the fact that that's going to happen. Because at some point, if you keep standing in your truth, living your truth, they're either going to stand next to you or they won't. That's how the truth works. And it doesn't matter how many different times and how many different ways we want to state it. I can tell myself, Sherry really believes in me. She really believes in my love for her. But doesn't mean that somehow, some way, she finds a way to question it. That happens to all of us. That doesn't mean you give up. Doesn't mean you start getting pissed off. Doesn't mean you start throwing a temper tantrum because the other person doesn't believe what you truly feel on the inside. If it feels good to you on the inside, why would you be upset? Why would you be triggered? You know you're meant for it. You know that this is something the whole universe is prepared for you. The universe is saying, here, show, just stand in what you're really saying and let it follow you. It's really hard to do. I'm not saying it's easy. I never said it was easy. The truth is going to have challenges along the way. But here's the thing about it. If it's the deepest truth in you, it'll be followed. If you stay in it. If you deviate from it, you end up looking like a liar, not the other person. What does the truth tell you? Because you could say one thing, and that's what's been said, and that's been set in stone, and then one little thing can be said thereafter, and it causes a whole bunch of pressure that the truth doesn't need. The truth just needs to flow. It just needs to come out naturally and be accepted naturally. It doesn't mean it changed. It just means that sometimes it just doesn't need the added pressure because there's no such thing as pressure on truth. The truth should be accepted because it's coming from love. It's not coming from conflict or conversation or domination or discussion to end a conversation. It just doesn't come from that same space.
But can the truth cause conflict?
No. If it's coming from love, why would it? Explain to me how you can tell the truth from love and it causes conflict. Explain. I need to hear this to understand.
Well, because a lot of people are going to say that I'm not truthful because I don't, like we went over this in the last video, like I'm not truthful because I don't want to cause any conflict. For example, if somebody has a very, I can't even come up with a good example, but say people are, say a couple struggling and they just have enough gas to get through the week. And there's an agreement. We're just going to work and we're coming home.
Mm-hmm.
That is it.
Right.
We cannot waver from that.
Mm-hmm.
And so wife stops at the store and grabs a loaf of bread because they're out, and then comes home and she has a loaf of bread, and he said, well, and he says to her, we had an agreement. We're gonna just go to work and back, and you stopped off. I would say 85% of the time she leaves the bread in the car and brings it in later.
Do you know what the issue is? At no point did the truth ever say it was an agreement of both. One person's truth may not be another person's truth. The compromise has to be how you tell the truth to each other. If they had a discussion and said, hey, we got to use this gas to get here and there for the rest of the week, and the other one says, well, I know that's fine and well, but we have to get groceries in the house. The other has to look and go, no, we should starve? No, the truth needs to be incorporated. So wait a minute, that fight's kind of null and void because that's not even about the truth. That's just about conflict. Let's just talk about the truth. The truth is you have to survive. The truth is you have to get from point A to point B in order to make sure that you can survive. And if other things need to be done in order for that survival to occur, there's truth in that. Somebody trying to say, no, we both agreed on this when it didn't sound like both would agree.
Well, I'm hypothetically using that as an example.
Wait
a minute. Most people,
example.
I would say most. It could be 80. It could be 60%. I don't know. I made up the scenario, but is the wife going to leave the bread in the car to bring in later, so there are no questions and so there's no conflict? So, because there's a fear there, there's a fear instilled. That fear is going to say to her, leave the bread in the car. You don't want no drama. Let's just have a cool night. And so she walks in the house and everything's fine. Right? He can even say, did you go straight to work and come straight home? And she'll probably say yes, or he, whatever.
Okay.
Now, that isn't the truth.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. Is it easier in some circumstances, in some instances, to not be as truthful?
Sure.
Because of that little bit of a fear that if she walked in with the bread and he says to her, okay, here it is. We had this agreement. We're going to and from, period, dot, that's it. We had this agreement. You didn't stick to it. And now there's conflict. So is that loaf of bread and that pit stop worth the conflict?
The bread and
none of that stuff matters. It's the principle of that fear keeping her from being honest, even over something little and dumb. To avoid the.
Let's talk about what I heard you say the most that really stuck out and caused a whole huge conflict in the whole thing. Anyway, the fear of saying that I'm going to be looked at and ridiculed and felt to be made to be dumb. That wasn't the other person. And the truth is, how can you hold the other person accountable for some shit you said to yourself and point at them and say they would have done it to you? If they didn't do it to you, that's an issue. It's not an issue with the other person. That's an issue with you.
What if there's a track record of...
what you're trying to say?
I'm trying to say is she's broke the agreement 5 or 6 times, and every time she comes to him with, no, I had to stop and get some bread. There was a 2-day conflict over, we agreed to something, you don't stick to it, and you know what, I'm about done with this. And then it happened again, and it keeps happening. You keep breaking the agreement, and then it turns into this big, huge explosion over
right. And here's how I
something
want to explain this when it pertains to the truth, because we got to get right down to the brass tacks of this bullshit. So here's what happens. Sherry has to sit in this chair every day, and there's an X on it. There's an X on the floor. And if she's not directly on that X, I'm going to be pissed off. That's what she's trying to convince you is the truth. The truth is, if she slides backwards and forwards over that X, doesn't matter. If she's not on that X the way I want her to be on that X, then we've got a problem. Because every day that goes by, if she's not perfectly on that same fucking X, I'm going to hold her accountable for some bullshit that I told her that she needed to do. Are you guys paying attention?
Is there an X?
No, I really want you to hear this because what you're trying to say
Is
is
there an X?
every
Is there
day
an
I come in
X?
and you don't slide up on that X, I'm going to look at you, I knew your ass was going to do that shit again today. See, that's the kind of bullshit you throw at somebody. The thing is, I didn't even tell you to stay on the X.
Is there an X?
Here's the thing. If you don't know I'm holding you accountable for that X, but every day I'm playing in my mind, you're not going to sit on that X, who's let you down? Who's let me down? Me or you? Me,
Yeah.
right? Because I didn't say nothing.
Anything.
So here's the thing. If I'm already playing in my mind, even if I tell you to be on that X and I know you're not going to, are you going to be mad at me for telling you every day you better be on that X in the right space? If you're not on that X in the right space, we're going to have conflict. That's the kind of shit that's coming out of your mouth. And that's the kind of shit that we hear people tell us that comes out of their mouth. And it almost doesn't make any sense. Because here's what you're trying to...
But isn't it the truth? Don't people react that way?
It is exactly...
This is why people don't
This
tell
is
the truth.
the same kind of conversation bullshit. This is the shit that made me bitch the other night. Because when we're talking about the truth...
What was you bitching about the other night?
I was bitching about how people hold expectations of how somebody's going to respond, how somebody's going to react, how somebody's going to do something, how somebody's not going to choose you, how somebody's going to cause conflict. You're always second guessing what somebody's going to do. And when you're wrong, you need to be right. So you invoke everything you need to happen so you get to be right. So you think that's the fucking truth. And it is so much bullshit and so much of a lie. And it's painful. There's no way in hell the other person's going to know you love them if you treat them this way. We've been doing it for years. And we're telling you, the only reason we've survived is because behind it we know the truth. I know she does not mean to attack me. I know she does not mean to come at me and go, oh, this is going to cause so much conflict. And if she doesn't get the conflict, she starts going, she waits for it. Or she says, oh, I know you have something to say about it. She's going to say something to kind of inject, or we're just going to wait till tomorrow because you're not in the right space. And it's like, you know what? Wow. If you're thinking for me, hell, I don't need to think at all. As a matter of fact, why are you even connected to me? You should just be connected to you. You seem to be really great at being connected for both of us. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, that's like for round 15 in a 12-bound fight. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, why would you do that to somebody you're connected to when you know that they're going to love you? You know that they're going to accept you, but you're in your mind playing how they're not.
But that's not instilled in us. That's not instilled in human beings.
You know what?
It is in infants, but as human beings grow and mature and learn from their parents, they learn how to hide. They learn how to keep secrets. They learn how to not tell the truth.
What does that have to do with anything? You're not connected to them. Get it? See how the truth just all of a sudden escaped me? Because that's how we all respond to everything. We think connection is something that we're learning for the first time. The truth is, you've learned connection before. And I'm not talking about in a past life, I'm talking about in this one. And when somebody tries to tell you your story, they don't know that shit about you. So how in the hell are they teaching you anything when you've already taught yourself? Yes, we're all going to come together, all 144,000 of us, and we all have the same fucking story, so we're all going to end up together. Because none of us had any dysfunction in any life we've ever experienced here, in this realm, in this post, in this moment. No, we're good. We know what the hell we're talking about. As a matter of fact, I can think of at least 1,000 men we've talked to who say, the person I'm connected to is dysfunctional. I'm pretty much awake. And then we talk to the other ones and they go, oh, they're still asleep. They're just not even sure that they're... And it's like, you know what? If you two had a conversation and we were sitting in the room, we're going to throw this big, huge bullshit flag at both of you because both of you have said the other person's asleep. When really, the truth is what's been escaping you both. If you ever feel like you can't come to me and talk to me brand new, did I do that to you or did you do that to you?
That would be me doing that to me.
Right. And how, when you tell me that truth, do you know how much more I love you?
Yes.
Now you're wrong. Now you've seen it real time. What if you're wrong? What if everything you're trying to tell yourself about how the other person's going to respond to you telling the truth has been wrong? You just witnessed it. I'm sorry. Maybe you should go talk to that psychic. Maybe you should go talk to that person who's trying to coach you into something and telling you that, yeah, it's all them, it's not you. If you can already go ahead and somehow predetermine conversations that another person's going to have with you, who do you tell that truth to? Would you tell it to the person that you're already having the predetermined conversations with? She does it all the time. Oh, I know I can't tell you anything. I'm going to have conflict. And it's like, okay, here we go. You want conflict? Let's have conflict then. Because it's almost like she's asking for it so she can be right.
Me? Are we talking about me now?
Let me ask you guys something. And this is just for shits and giggles.
That don't sound good.
Well, if the truth is what you've been looking for, and you've been looking for the truth when it pertains to connection, when you're looking for the truth when it pertains to relationships, you're just looking for the truth in general. Where are you finding it? You're finding it here on this channel, so hit the subscribe button. Matter of fact, not only will you hit our subscribe button, go over to Cam's channel, hit the subscribe button there too.
Nerf Cam.
Nerf Cam. Because let me tell you something.
He's 9.
And he's 9, but here's the thing. I just don't know that if you look at it and you look for people who know that they have felt true love in their essence, in their energy, to their soul, because that's your essence energy. And then we lay the truth on them of what the mind does to you when it comes to those you're connected to, based on where you're connected from. And it goes deep-rooted, because not everybody's story is the same. Not anybody, even the ones that seem to be batshit crazy, their story's fucked up too. And there's a reason they're batshit. But if there's something in you...
There's a reason?
If there's something in you that you followed Lee and Sherry this far, this long, and you know without a shadow of a doubt, you're meant to find the truth, then know that Lee and Sherry aren't pointing to us. We're pointing to inside of you. Stop replaying or telling yourself what your connection is to you. Start being connected to you. You need to figure out how you abandon yourself, reject yourself, tell yourself stories, tell yourself the truth, tell yourself lies. And if you can't do that, that's why we're here. We've got no problem talking about the truth. Yeah. Can you imagine being with me all day long? All night long? And she's still sitting here. If you've been watching this channel for years, you've got to go ahead and just like this video just for that alone. Jesus Christ, I feel bad for this woman. And that's my truth. I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for sticking this out with me. And I'm sorry that you have a problem with the truth.
Me?
No?
We're talking about me now?
Mm-mm. Look, everybody's had that person they're connected to, and you think they're the issue of telling the truth. Or, oh, I can't tell them the truth because they're going to. The moment you say they're going to, it's become a lie.
Let's break it down. So
Okay.
if you're the person who has that agreement with, we're using a hypothetical bread agreement.
Mm.
If you're that person
Mm-hmm.
and you stop and get the bread and you come home, do you just say, hey, I stopped off and got a loaf of bread?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know what?
No.
You come in and go, we needed this. And the other person will go, okay. You know what?
There's a
If you come in,
difference in, you know what? I effing stopped and got a loaf of bread, deal with it.
oh no, see, oh,
Right?
see, that's not the truth.
Handle
That's you already looking for the conflict, so you get to be right about the conflict actually occurring.
That's different than saying I stopped off and got a loaf of bread because we really need a loaf
No,
of bread.
hey baby, I know that we had an agreement that we weren't going to do this, but I really needed to go do this. And the other person's going to go, what the fuck's wrong with you? No, the other person's going to go, I see your point. Thank you for doing that.
Every time?
You know what? Name one time that you approached me from a different way,
Well,
different
you're
tone.
different. I mean, but
That's not, no,
what
I'm
about
not.
the people who, what about
I
the
wish it was the fact that I'm different. But you know what? I have no problem showing my manhood in front of all these people. I have no problem showing that a man can be emotional. I have no problem showing you that there are deep feelings inside of a man that a man can express. It doesn't have anything to do with about being labeled a man. It has everything to do with about having a mother who said, show how you feel. And not one of us men can walk around saying, our mother said, stuff it. Your father can tell you that all day long, but your mother, not so much.
So it's all in the delivery.
It's all in the communication.
And the truth?
You know what? The truth is you can't speculate what somebody else is going to think or say. The moment you did that, the moment you do that, you didn't betray the other person as much as you betrayed yourself. You are not giving that person an opportunity to really tell you what they need to say outside. Here's one thing, and we've seen this, and I've followed this all the way down to the core. And don't worry, if you ever need somebody to come in and find the truth, we got no problem doing that. We got coaches that'll do it. Here's an example. We had somebody go, well, I know as soon as they find out how I really feel about them, they're going to think I'm batshit crazy. So when you sat down with them and you told them the truth about exactly how you felt, what did they say? Oh, I've never done it. Are you standing in your truth? Yes, I am.
There are...
No, wait a minute. Let's capture this for a minute. How many times have you heard that happen? How many can you count? How many times have we heard of a makeshift belief scenario of something happening, somebody playing something, and we've had this, and it's interesting, we've not only had this with just people who aren't in the public eye, we've had this with people in the public eye, people who aren't in the public eye, people who are and it's really interesting because we're all cut from the same freaking energy of human beings. But at the same time, we still put people at certain levels as other people. And it doesn't make any damn sense. Celebrity or not, it doesn't make any sense. If they're part of the government or not, it just doesn't make any sense. If they've never had the conversation, you can't make it up. That's not the truth.
I'm going to come up with some comments that I feel that are going to come.
Oh, I'd love to see these.
Okay. So I'm just going to go off the top of my head and say, okay, Lee, that sounds great and that sounds wonderful. But I've come in 19 days in a row. I don't know where I got that number, it just came to me. I've come in 19 days in a row. And I've walked in from the car into the garage. And every 19th day, every day for the past 19 days, I've looked at my husband and told him I loved him, and I meant it from my heart, and he punched me in the eye. Why on the 20th day would I go in and tell him my truth and get punched in the eye again?
May I ask you a question?
I mean, there's real shit like that goes on out there.
I know, but I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go in there and tell your husband you love him because you have a family? Do you go in there and tell your husband this because you genuinely understand why he would punch you in the eye? Do you go in there? Tell me the reason behind your ability to, after the first day of being punched in the face, to walk back in there and think something. This is not to say that something's going to be different, but to say, how did you get over the first time he hit you? What did you have to do to you for you to go back? The truth.
Okay.
Did you have to abandon and reject yourself to get yourself to go back in that door the second day?
What about the 16-year-old?
Let's get to the truth.
Who's watching, who says, every time I go home, my father and my stepfather sexually abuses me. Now what?
And who have you told the truth to?
My mom.
And what did your mom do?
She left him in the house and it was fine.
Okay, and did you go to the police? Did
no,
you tell friends?
He would threaten.
Who all did you tell? Because first of all, if the moment you shut it down was the moment that you had to go ahead and swallow what your mother did.
Wait a minute. The thing is, the threats are there. The threats are there. You're gonna go to jail. This is your fault. I'm gonna molest your sister. I'm gonna kill your mother. I'll kill the whole family if you open your mouth. Those threats are real. They're there.
Right. And so, with the first time you've been threatened this way, who did you tell?
Well, of course I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want any bad thing to happen.
Wait a minute. So you had to convince yourself that what this person was telling you was okay to endanger your life for everybody else's.
Did I have a choice?
Yes, you could have walked your ass right down to the police station and said everything that's happened, said everything that was said to you. You don't think they would have done something?
It depends.
Wait a minute.
System's a mess.
I get it. Let me tell you why, if you didn't do it, was your reason. First of all, you thought you were at fault for whatever happened. Were you
Right.
at fault for whatever happened?
No.
Do you know that truth?
Yes.
Now, here's how deep that it goes, right? The moment you convinced yourself that you were at fault was the self-betrayal that shows up for the rest of your life.
Right. But so the woman that comes in 19 times and gets punched in the face. So I'm just coming up with
I know,
scenarios
sweetie.
to say, okay, these are actual things that
Yes.
happen.
And every single time we always find a child at the end that's still being protected, but at the same time being lied to. It wasn't their fault.
Right.
We get it.
Mhm.
We're not saying that what you did was wrong. What we're saying is what happened to you was the truth. What you endured is the truth. But let's tell the truth about what you did so that way we can free
So
you of
what
that.
could a woman do to be punched in the face for 19 times?
There's so much that goes into somebody. Sweetie,
Right,
I
which
don't
is
know.
my point of saying,
It's-
is there,
I wish it was-
what I'm trying to get to is there ever a good time not to tell the truth?
It's always a great time to tell the truth. But sometimes it takes because of the lies that can be laid on top of what happens in the truth.
So you just go straight for the root of the lie.
We're all conditioned to be in the mind. We're all conditioned to believe that we can predict the future. We're all conditioned to believe that the past repeats itself. When that happens to somebody, that takes over. But the truth is, nobody's even holding them now. And that's where the issue is. If somebody was holding you and saying, I got you, nothing's going to happen. Think about that person we saved last year. Think about the dread that they were going through. And they're part of their coaching program now. We've incorporated, and let me tell you, this person has completely changed their life in our coaching program.
Mm-hmm.
They changed their life because they looked at it and they said, you know what? I don't know what to do with my life. I've lived my whole life in fear. And we said, you know what? And we actually sponsored her and her eldest daughter in our coaching program, and look at what they've done. Do you understand that sometimes you're going to carry a whole lot of weight from some shit that happened to you and you didn't talk about it, but once you start purging it, once you start going into the pain of it, you rebirth. And because the truth is now available to you. It doesn't mean that back then you had the words or you had the know-how to even understand what it was that happened to you. But when somebody just holds you through it without judgment, somebody listens to you to the depths of what's never been asked of you, it's life-changing. The truth always is. So I'm listening to 19 times, but I'm thinking about the girl that we just helped, who had spent 9 months being molested every day for 9 months, even during her period, and couldn't scream, couldn't yell, couldn't say something. And what we've been able to do to get her to open up, to watch her change her life. And Lee and Sherry are, look, I get it. We want to be out here helping you guys, but there is so much more that this connection can do. That once you're in the truth, you'd be amazed at what you can change. But let's get back to what we're really talking about here. Who would love you if you told the truth? I want to do a church. We're looking for a really good church name, a universal spiritual church that we can do where you guys can come and you can you can throw topics at us. Before then, we come and we talk about that topic for
preaching.
You know, we gotta keep giving back, but at the same time, we gotta keep reaching those people that really need us. And I'm telling you, if you find this kind of connection and you found this particular channel, it wasn't because you wanted something mystical. It's because you wanted the truth. Well, mystical exists. But you got to get to the core of your truth before you can actually know what to do with it. We love you guys. We hope that Sherry's ability to ask me 25 questions helped you. The other day, though, you were asked a question. I think there was something that came up because somebody said, "Hey, Sherry, I think you were going to say something about, when Lee was talking about telling the truth, and you were talking about, well, what if it's somebody who's in a marriage and they've got to go tell their husband the truth?" And what was that experience like for you? How did you get to this union? Was it by telling the truth or was it by hiding?
Well, it certainly wasn't by hiding.
No, I think this person needed to hear your side.
Definitely telling the truth is what got me here.
What did the truth do to the other person?
Set him free.
It didn't hurt him?
No.
Yes.
It hurt him.
It hurt them.
Yeah, it didn't.
Here's what I think is true. Well, she decided that it was probably best just to stay in this marriage because what it was going to do in the long run is it was going to save the family. Yes, if you lie, it's going to make everything work out just fine. If you just keep hiding the fact that you feel a connection that goes beyond what your marriage can give you, oh no, you're perfectly okay. Wait, but yet you're pissed off when the other person you're connected to starts showing up with conditional love rather than unconditional love. Do you see the point? Oh, yes, because you're afraid that if somebody comes along that your ex or husband finds and all of a sudden has a connection or wife, and they find this connection for themselves, and you don't end up with your connection, you're going to be mad? Which part of this do you think makes you disconnected? Staying with somebody and lying to them? Or freeing yourself and telling the truth and becoming connected to you? Which is the point? I mean, you are here for a reason. Why isn't that reason to be connected to you?
But we have kids. So you're teaching them how to lie. So that's what
You're teaching your kids how to be disconnected in a lie.
Yeah.
And then they keep looking and going, my parents loved each other? That doesn't make much sense for them to grow up that way, does it? Because you know what? They're going to find somebody who doesn't love them too. All because you showed them how to hide what you really feel. I mean, kids, we've all been kids at some point. What did your parents teach you? And what have you learned from this? We love you guys. This is Raw TD. Maybe we need to have a Raw church. What could happen?
Sound good.
Yeah. But don't look for our shows. We got coming up with another couple. We're going to be doing that, I think.
Radio show.
We're going to be doing is it radio or is it going to be
I don't know.
Video?
I don't know what we're going to do.
We're going to be doing some very spectacular things.
Yeah,
if there's a topic that you would like
yet.
for Lee and Sherry to talk about, please, by all means, just go ahead and email us. info@relationship@reinvented.com, or check out the new website because there's a contact button. And I believe there's also going to be a forum coming at some point. There's a whole bunch of changes going on there. Our coaches are so anxious and so ready. But at the same time, we know that there's other coaches because we need coaches in all aspects. We've got coaches we got coaches right now who are helping people through divorcing. We have coaches who help premarital, but we have a lot. Actually, I think we have probably close to almost 60-something coaches here in our area where we live in who actually are helping out in the court systems, helping out with juvenile
sex abuse,
and
victims and survivors,
and survivors, and in halfway homes, and
safe houses,
and homeless shelters. So don't think that this is something that we're going to stop. We're here for a reason. And I believe if you understand what that reason is, are you who we're looking for? We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.